It's really hot out there, so take a sip of water and get ready with me to talk about books. Hello, my name is Priti and I love to read books, but I also love to come here and recommend books to you on this channel and also on Instagram, so you can follow me there. But I am here today to recommend you 6 books that you can read if you are either in a reading slump, which is what I am going through right now, where you just can't read anything, or two, where you haven't read a book in a while and you sort of want to get back into that magical world. These 6 books, I think, will really push you into that magical world and get you through it. And I think that all these 6 books are very, very diverse. So hopefully, one of them at least will be to your, I don't know, fascination, to your interest. I don't know words, which is great for a person who reads a lot. But anyway, here we go with my first recommendation. So my first recommendation is actually a series of 3 books, and that series is called the Century series, the Century trilogy, by Ken Follett. The first one is called The Fall of the Giants, second one is called Winter of the World, and the third one is The Edge of Eternity. And essentially it's historical fiction, where the first book is about the First World War, second one is about the Second World War, and third one is about the Cold War and like the Civil War, right? And basically we follow fictional characters from different countries that were really like prominent during this. So for example, the UK, US, Russia, Germany, and these fictional characters are set in very real world sort of like things that have actually happened, and that is the whole point of historical fiction. But like I just thought that this series was so good. The characters just like sort of like mingle with each other towards the end of it, and I just loved how this was played out. This series is like, each book is quite chunky. Like, this is one book, but like, trust me, I have recommended this book so many times, and like people have been able to read it like this. Like, it's just so fast paced and just amazing, and by the time you are done with the series or even just one book, you will feel so accomplished. You will be like, oh my god, I can do anything, and like, yeah, you will kill it. And you'll be able to just like get into other books as well, because like you're over this hang up of like, I can't read thick ass books, but like you can, because these books are just so readable. The second one is a short one, but it is by a very famous author, and that is Salman Rushdie. Now, Salman Rushdie can be very intimidating to get into, but he has written one young adult novel which he wrote for his son called Haroon and the Sea of Stories, and that book is just amazing. You do not have to be a young adult to read this book, because while it is about a young boy whose father is a storyteller and his voice is taken away from him, so he goes to the land of like stories and the world of Chup to try to get that voice back, and it's like fantastical and amazing. But for you as a person who may know things about like current events and like Indian history or just world history, there are so many allegories in this, and you can see what like he's trying to say through this book. It's basically a book about censorship. If you know that, like when Salman Rushdie, he had a fatwa against him, and he went into hiding, and this is when he wrote this book. So it just has so many layers to it that you can ultimately sort of understand. But since it is a young adult book, you will go through it so fast, and it is just a joy to read. So I would definitely recommend Haroon and the Sea of Stories. The third book is a series that I love, and if you have been following me for a while, you probably know what I'm going to say next, and that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. This book is just epic, and I absolutely love it. A lot of people make the mistake of reading just the first book, which is the name, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I would strongly suggest that you read the second book in this series as well, which is The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, because that is my favorite book of this series. It basically includes this depressed robot called Marvin, who you kind of get in the first one, but the second one just has more of him, and he is like my favorite character ever. In the movies, there was one movie that was made which was not that great, by the way. It is voiced by Alan Rickman, RIP story, but like, oh my god, it is so good. And basically the whole story is just so ridiculous and like so funny and witty. But it's basically about this guy called Arthur Dent who is on Earth, and his best friend Ford Prefect basically tells him one day that, hey, I'm actually an alien and the Earth is going to get destroyed any minute now, so we have to hitchhike onto like another spaceship and like escape. And basically they do that, and then they have a bunch of adventures that happen, and it is just so fun. The best part about this book is that like you can essentially just like read it at any point and it will still be really funny and amazing. And if you don't believe me, you can believe Biswa Kalyan Rath, who is an amazing Indian comedian, which I'm sure you may know of, and he has said the exact same thing as well. I think he said that this was the only book that he has actually like read from start to finish.
We've heard a rumor that you have been unable to finish any book in your life apart from one book.
It's true, I can't finish any book.
So which is the one book that you have finished?
Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Really?
Yes.
What was it about this book that led you to finish it?
I think this book doesn't rely on the ending. The great thing about this book is even if you read like one paragraph randomly, it'll be hilarious. You don't need to know before and after. It's the style of writing is so funny. So I just kept reading like for the laughs, not for the story.
So yeah, this book is just my absolute favorite, and I would definitely recommend if you want some good laughs and just like general hilarity in your life. I would also suggest that you read or listen to the audiobook, because the first one is narrated by Stephen Fry and the second one is narrated by the guy who what is his name? The guy who was in Lord of the Rings. I'll put his face and name here, but yeah, I forget his name. I'm so sorry. Sheen? No, I don't know. The fourth book that I have to recommend to you is another sci-fi book of short stories, but don't get like dissuaded by the sci-fi in this, because I'm not typically a sci-fi girly and I absolutely loved this book. It is called The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories by Ken Liu. Ken Liu is an award-winning writer and translator, and he has won so many awards for his short stories, which he has all sort of like collated into this like book. Like The Paper Menagerie won 3 consecutive awards, like the Hugo Award, the Nebula Award, and another award in just that same year, which is like absolutely nuts. So like this book series, it essentially talks about like the Asian American like immigrant experience, or just generally being like Asian American or just like Asian in general. Ken Liu is Chinese himself, so a lot of that comes into play, but he uses like sci-fi elements to sort of like get into it as well. And I don't know how to explain it, but like I was so moved by these short stories that were like 15-16 pages long, and they just completely had me in a chokehold. So I would definitely recommend this book, because I feel like all of the short stories, if not most of the short stories, were really well done, and you can sort of like read them one short story at a time, and like it will just completely like immerse you in that tale. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it and would highly recommend. Another book about the Asian American or Indian American immigrant experience is Unaccustomed Earth, which I actually have 2 versions of. So this is the first ever edition of, and the other one is up there on my shelf. But Unaccustomed Earth is a book by Jhumpa Lahiri, which is basically a collection of short stories again. But I just think that Jhumpa Lahiri writes so freaking well that you just fully get like immersed in it. And like if you have to tell me which book of Jhumpa Lahiri should I read, I always say Unaccustomed Earth, because it has a bunch of her short stories, which is what she is known for. She has won a goddamn Pulitzer for it. But also it has like this novella of sorts, which is like a chunk of a story, which is towards the end, so you get a bit of like her long form writing as well. And I just loved each and every story in this book. I think that she writes so well about like the human condition and just how people feel, and I think that you will get like fully immersed in it and absolutely love it. And if If you have not read Unaccustomed Earth, then what are you doing in life? Please read it ASAP. And now we're on the last book that I have to recommend to you, and that is If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. I have spoken about this book way too much last year because it was one of my favorite books of last year. And this book is by James Baldwin, who is an absolute master in writing. This book is so short but packs a punch. It's essentially about a girl who is pregnant with a child, but her husband has gone to jail for a crime that he has not committed. And essentially we see their story, we see their families, we see what they're going through and how they try to get this man Fonny out of jail. And it's just so moving because it tells you the story of like just how black people are treated still in the US. It was written way back, but it's still relevant to today, about like race, about discrimination, police brutality, about just love. So this book is not just like a book that will make you like sad because of things that are happening in the world, but will fill you with so much of joy because of the love that everyone shares. And it's not just about love shared between two people in love, but also the love that a family can have. And this book is full of amazing writing, great one-liners that just like steal your heart, and you're like, whoa, people can write like this. And it's just like, I think a great like segue into getting into more James Baldwin, because he writes absolutely amazingly, and would definitely recommend him in general as a writer who you should read. But yeah, those are all the 6 books that I will recommend to you for now, for books that you should read if you are in a slump or generally want to get back into reading. But yeah, that's all for now. I will definitely be making more of these videos, so if you can, please comment down below and let me know which thing should I do next. Should I do thrillers, should I do classics, or should I do memoirs? Let me know which of these 3 you would want to watch immediately, or like get recommendations of immediately. Thrillers, memoirs, and classics. Yes, 3 of those. So that's it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, then do hit the like button. Do check out these other videos that I have made here, where I help you to read. So be it read faster or quicker, or I don't know, I've put a bunch of these videos up to like, yeah. So check that out and subscribe, and goodbye.